Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Monday night call. My name is Tammy Hicks, and I am a doTERRA Gold Wellness Advocate. I am also a mom to three teenage boys and a holistic health coach as well. So, today we are going to talk about how to manage attention and focus with a hint of autism into the mix, how to manage it naturally. So, we're going to talk about how to use your doTERRA products that have been amazing in our personal journey to health and wellness for our children and ourselves. Um, and then also some other tools that you could bring into the mix as well. So let me just share this with you. Any questions that you have, everyone is muted. So if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat or unmute yourself. At the end of the presentation, I'd be happy to answer questions, okay? All right, so we are gonna talk about, like I said, how to manage focus and attention naturally. Okay, so a little bit about myself. Like I said, my name's Tammy Hicks. I'm a holistic health coach, an essential oil educator, a mom to three teenage boys, men actually, so they keep me really busy. And about 4 years ago, I started on this journey of health and wellness with my youngest son. So our story started with samples that another woman gave me of vetiver, balance, and serenity. And since that time, we have been able to literally transform the health of our son, and I'll explain how that happened, and our family, and then hundreds going on thousands of others with the use of doTERRA products. And so our story starts with my three boys here on the screen. My youngest one was diagnosed very, very, very early with ADHD. So he was medicated by 4 years old and had been medicated from 4 to 10. So for 6 years, taking a heavy amount of medication. I had always tried to manage things at a more natural level, but really he couldn't focus in school. He couldn't learn in school. He got kicked out of preschool. We had a whole host of issues with this child, and we had made the decision to medicate. And for 6 years, like I said, he was pretty heavily medicated. For the last 4 of those 6 years, he was taking 8 pills a day. And he was 10 years old, about 41 pounds, taking 8 pills a day. He was on a lot of medication. And he then started having hallucinations. And after we had gone through all the scans of his brain and everything, the doctors had basically said that they called it psychosis. And they wanted to put him on another medication. And I thought, there's got to be a better way. I know there's a better way. And we walked out of that doctor's office and never looked back. I had gone to school to be a holistic health coach, and I knew the power of natural remedies. And so I was determined to kind of find something that at least would help him and help him get off of some of these medications that he was taking. A psychosis diagnosis at age 10 was not something that I knew was right for him or something that I wanted for him, and I knew there had to be a better way. So I walked out of that doctor's office. I came home and I went feverishly in investigative mode, trying to find different things that we could do for him. I detoxed him, so I removed all the inflammatory foods, and we'll talk about a lot of this, but I did a detox on him. And he had to go through, 3 days basically of withdrawal symptoms from all the medications that he was on. And so for the first 3 days, he did not sleep, not a wink of sleep. So he was running around the house, banging his head up against the wall, crying, saying he hates his brain. And on the third night, I was sitting in front of a computer crying, and went on a chat site, a local chat site in our community here. And I asked other mothers out there, I said, does anyone have any natural remedies for attention and focus? And another mom said, hey, I use essential oils on my autistic child. You should try them. I knew nothing about essential oils. And I thought, I don't want to massage him. I just want him to go to sleep and relax a little. I knew nothing. And so I said, at this point, I'll try anything. And I went and I picked up a sample from this lovely woman, and she gave me vetiver, balance, and serenity, told me to apply it on his back of his neck, and the bottoms of his toe. And I looked at her like she was crazy. And, but I did that. I came home and I'm like, I got nothing to lose. So I did that. And he fell asleep for the first time in 3 days. He fell asleep. And I thought, okay, this is really odd, but all right, I'll try it again. And we did it again the next day. And I put the Balance Serenity and vetiver again on the back of his neck and the bottoms of his toe, sent him to school. And I got a call from the school nurse, from the school principal, and from his teacher. And they all said, what did you do to Peyton? I didn't think he was on medication anymore. He's acting like a totally different child today. And I thought, what the heck? I was in complete shock because nothing that we had done for the last several days had worked. Nothing that we had been using medication-wise was working. And so that's when I went into, I got to understand what these oils are. I got to understand how they work. I got to understand why they work. And as I had said, for 6 years, this child was heavily, heavily medicated by some really good top doctors. We were at a very good hospital here. I'm based out of Chicago. We were at a very good hospital. And not one doctor, not one psychiatrist, not one psychologist, not one therapist, no one had ever mentioned to me essential oils, ever. And my passion for why I do what I do now is because that one mother that reached out to me changed my son's life. She changed our lives and many other lives as well, because I've been sharing for 4 years now of doTERRA. And so that's where my passion comes from, and sharing my story is so that I can help other people who may not know that there's a better way. So that is our story. So a little bit about ADD, ADHD, and ASD. So ADD is attention deficit disorder. This is where you may have trouble focusing and paying attention. ADHD is attention deficit and hyperactivity disorder. This is where you have problems focusing and paying attention, but you also have a hyperactivity component to it. So for children, it presents itself as, not being able to focus, but then also being very fidgety and, talking out of turn and running out of line and just always kind of going. ASD is the autism spectrum disorder, and this can be social, developmental, and emotional as well. And ASD, as I have learned, they used to have all these other diagnoses under this, like Asperger's was one of them. Now they're just doing everything under ASD, the autism spectrum disorder, and then ranking them from 1 through 4, 4 being very severe, probably nonverbal, and 1 being very high functioning. Since this time that we had started using oils, my son has also been diagnosed with autism. He was diagnosed about 2 months ago, and we had only recognized this from a social emotional component. And the psychiatrist at the hospital that he was in said that basically the reason why he's kind of been able to fly under the radar for so long is because of everything that we had been doing and managing the, with the oils and with the supplements in his lifestyle. He's always had autism. It's just that now the social emotional component of it, he's 14 right now. And so while all of his peers are sort of progressing, he's kind of a little bit behind. And so that's why they noticed the deficit in that area. But I've been so happy to hear that what I've been doing has been able to help him, right? It's a blessing and a curse because he'd been undetected for quite a while, but also a blessing because what we've been doing has been working. And so now we're doing other things that I'll share in this presentation on how to help him with his autism diagnosis as well. Okay, so some statistics. So there are no real definitive diagnostic tests for ADD, ADHD, or ASD. There's no blood analysis, no genetic screenings, right? So often the diagnosis comes from a series of tests that are done by psychiatrists, psychologists, therapists, and they're evaluated in many different settings. In the US, at least 11% of school-age children are diagnosed with ADHD and ADD. Autism rates continue to rise in this country. Currently, 1 in every 50 children is diagnosed with ASD. Boys are 3 to 4 times more likely to be diagnosed than girls, and that's for all three, ADHD, ADD, and ASD. And the average diagnosis age is 7. I mean, it's just staggering to me how many kids are suffering with this. It's also adults as well. It's just we hear it mostly with kids these days. One of the first things I tell people is when they're talking to someone about how you can help them with their child or their specific issues that may be on the spectrum or have ADD or ADHD, is to look at the whole person. Because a lot of times they're just so hyper focused on that one area of my son can't focus, or my son's hyperactive, or my son can't sleep, that they're missing all of these other things. A lot of times they're accompanied, ADD, ADHD, and ASD are accompanied by other conditions. So look at the entire person. So when I sit down and talk to someone, I ask them, tell me everything you can about your child or about yourself in all the different areas. Do you have sleep issues? Do you have depression? Do you have compulsive issues? Do you have sensory issues? So just looking at the whole person so that you can address the whole person and not the one symptom. And a lot of times you get a much greater outcome when you're working on looking at the whole person than just the one diagnosis. The other thing I also say is that it is a process. You cannot go do everything tomorrow and expect it to be 100% successful. We are 4 years into this, and every year I try to tackle something new. I use the doTERRA pyramid here because it's spot on, right? Eating right is the foundation for overall health and wellness. If you're not eating right, your foundation is going to be broken, and you can't build anything on a broken foundation. So, we'll talk about a lot of these different things in this presentation, but eating right, exercising, staying active, reducing and managing your stress, reducing your toxic load, informed self-care, and proactive medical care. This is all a process. I normally tell people to pick 2 that they want to start with, 2. And that's even being aggressive. And if you can pick 2, and then we can start to identify things in those 2 areas that you can make changes on and improve in your life to get you to where you want to be. The first thing that I always start with is eating right. So we talked about this, right? Eating right is the foundation for overall health and wellness. If your foundation is cracked, it is very hard to be building things on top of that. So fixing your foundation is essential. Gut health is one of the most important things that you can do for anything brain related. So for ADD, ADHD, ASD, gut health, gut health, gut health. Your gut is known as your second brain. You have more neurons, 400 to 600 million neurons in your gut. That's 3 times the neurons that you have in your brain. Your gut produces most of the serotonin, and 50% of the dopamine that's formed in your body is produced in your gut. So if your gut is a mess, everything that's going on up here is not going to be able to function properly. So almost 90% of the time, this is where I'm starting with, in their gut. A couple of books that I love. Gut and Psychology Syndrome. This is one that I studied in school. This book is amazing. It is amazing. It's a little hard to read, but it will open your eyes to what the gut-brain connection and how real it is. She does a really good job of also explaining how you can make the dietary changes necessary to make gut health changes. The Second Brain and Brain Maker are 2 other books that I really enjoy. And if you're interested in learning more about that, I highly recommend all 3 of these books. Eating right. So foods that you should avoid, right? So high sugar foods. Everyone knows sugar causes hyperactivity in children and adults. Common foods to avoid are overly processed foods, candies, juices, grains. Sugar is in everything. And the food industry is changing the name of sugar rapidly. They're always coming up with different names of sugar to hide it from us. So just some of the names of sugar: high fructose corn sweetener, dehydrated cane sugar, dextrin, dextrose, maltodextrin, sucrose, molasses, malt syrup. These are just a few. I feel like every month they're coming out with a different name to hide sugar. Read your labels. Reading your labels is one of the most important things you can do for your health, for the health of your customers, and the health of your family. I normally try to live by a 5-ingredient rule. So if it's 5 ingredients or more, I'm probably not going to eat it. If there's stuff on there that I can't pronounce, I'm definitely not going to eat it. Food should be simple. It shouldn't be complicated. It shouldn't be loaded with chemicals and additives and preservatives, because at that point, it's not food. And if you know that your gut is your second brain, and if you're not fueling your gut with good food, you're not going to have a good output from your brain. So, second thing to avoid, artificial food dyes and flavors. Studies show that food dyes and flavors cause hyperactivity and attention issues. It's known, there's been many studies about it. Food dyes are basically petroleum-based products. It's coal tar, right? That's what they use to make all these funky food colors. So food should not be neon green and neon blue and vibrant yellow. So again, this is where reading your labels can be really important. If you have someone that does struggle with focus issues, look at your labels. This is super important, because if you know that the studies are showing that the food dyes can cause hyperactivity and inattention, that could be a problem. Some of the worst dyes are red 40, blue 1, blue 2, and yellow 5. I will just say this is not just in food, but artificial food dyes are in all kinds of products. So here's an example. I switched out my son's, all of his eating and everything like that. We removed everything. He was a very clean eater. And we were still having some issues. And I thought, okay, now I got to start looking at other things. What's going on? Well, this was before I knew better. I go in the shower and I look at what he's been washing himself with every day, slathering himself down in the shower, the Target body soap that like the number 4 ingredient was red 40. He's super sensitive to red 40. It causes him to get hyperactive. Never in a million years did I think about, oh, I need to be looking at, this is before I knew better, but he's washing himself down. And as doTERRA, right, we know whatever you're putting on your skin is in your bloodstream in 30 seconds. So if he's covering himself from head to toe in red 40, no wonder why he's having problems. So it's not just in food, it can be in other products as well. Read your labels. Getting rid of foods that cause inflammation. Inflammation is the source of all disease. So many doctors and holistic people are saying this now. Inflammation is the cause of so many diseases these days. And I do believe that inflammation is one of the reasons why so many people struggle with attention and focus issues. So removing foods that cause inflammation, gluten, corn, soy, have all been studied and shown to be potentially cause hyperactivity in children. You can also have underlying food sensitivities that you are not even aware of. This was with my son. He had an underlying gluten sensitivity. He had been tested. The blood test showed that he had no gluten sensitivity. Yet when we moved gluten out of his diet, he was a very different child. So he went from bouncing off the walls like those super balls. I don't know if anyone remembers the super balls, and you throw them and they'd go all over the place. That was my kid. We removed gluten from his diet and things began to change. Now, when he has gluten, he has other kind of reactions to it, but removing that was one of the best things that we could have done for his body because it did cause the inflammation. And when your body is inflamed, it's not allowed to heal and it's not allowed to function properly. Identifying food sensitivities. So there's a lot of different things that you can do. There are food sensitivities can be a major component to this. So you can start with an elimination diet, right? So this is taking out a lot of the inflammatory foods for a week or 2 weeks at a time, and then gently incorporating them back into their diet to see what kind of foods they may have a reaction to. I did this for a week. I do this with other customers 1 week or 2 weeks. So take everything out, the corn, the soy, the gluten, the sugar, all these things for like a week, and then introduce them one at a time. And then you'll be able to see very clearly what kind of reaction they're having to the food. You could get the blood tests done, but they're not always very accurate. There are stool tests that can be done as well. And the stool tests I have found to be a little more accurate than the blood tests. And the stool test could be done by naturopaths, some chiropractors do it, some DOs do it. So there are other things that you could do there to see if you have a food sensitivity. So eating right with supplements. Supplementation is huge, huge, huge. If you, again, this is the foundation for health. If you are not giving what your body needs to flourish, how can you possibly expect it to produce the quality output when the input is poor? So if you're eating garbage, 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 or eating foods that are not supplying your body with the nutrients that it needs to function, to produce good hormones, to produce quality sleep, you're expecting it to do something that you're not, and you're not providing it the opportunity to do that. So supplementation is huge, and doTERRA supplements have been life-changing to our family, life-changing. My son has been on LLV for almost 4 years now, about 4 years. DDR Prime as well. So for adults, you need to be taking the Lifelong Vitality, the period, end of story. If you have any kind of focus issues whatsoever, inflammation issues, anything like that, the Lifelong Vitality for adults is spectacular. Specifically the XE Omega and the IQ Mega. Both of those essential fatty acids are necessary for brain health. If you, we're not getting the amount of fatty acids that we need in our diet in general. So essential fatty acids are good for brain health and cognition, cardiovascular health, connective tissue health. So without the essential fatty acids, you are basically like running your car without oil, right? Eventually things start to lock up and things aren't running smoothly anymore. So making sure that you're telling people to include the XE Omega or the IQ Mega for sure, for sure. And then the LLV in general, so the Alpha CRS, as well as the Microplex VMZ, right? Those are at a very nutritional level, giving your body the nutrients that it needs to function how it needs to. The A to Z, again, that's at a nutrient level, allowing your body to get what it needs to function. Those are for children. Some of the other ones that we use, so DDR Prime has been a godsend. So we use the DDR Prime soft gels. When he was, probably 4 years ago, we did do the oil. So putting that in his roller blend, which I'll go through at the end of this presentation, but making sure that you're including that DDR Prime for sure, at least twice a day, depending on how severe. Terra Greens, again, I think this is a highly underutilized product. Terra Greens is spectacular in terms of giving your body that nutrition that it needs. And it's so easy to get this in your diet. It is formulated beautifully and it tastes delicious. And what I love about it is I can put scoops of that in smoothies or in yogurt, and my kids, they don't even have any idea. I make them, so I put the Terra Greens in with blueberries, a little bit of aloe juice, kale, spinach, and I mix it up and I blend it and I stick them in these little silicone pops and freeze them. The kids come over, their friends come over, and they think they're eating like popsicles. They have no idea that they're eating dehydrated greens. And so Terra Greens, I think, is a highly underutilized product. Has a really nice flavor. You can even just mix it in juice or something like that. It's a very, very good product, and the kids actually will eat it. PB Assist and PB Assist Junior, again, so if we are talking about gut health, and you know that your gut is your second brain, you need to start treating that gut with love. And in order to do that, you need to be replenishing your microbiome with quality probiotics, and doTERRAs are spectacular. I love them specifically for the double encapsulation. The double encapsulation is super important because, number one, you need prebiotic fiber to absorb the probiotics. And most of the probiotics out there don't have the prebiotic fiber, and most people are not eating enough fiber. So doTERRA's has the double encapsulation with the prebiotic on the outside that's dissolving in the stomach acid, and the probiotics on the inside that have that release in the gastrointestinal tract exactly where it's supposed to release. It's a time release capsule. It's really very cool technology. And it's being released in the gastrointestinal tract, flourishing your microbiome with healthy bacteria. It is one of the best delivery systems I've seen. So PB Assist Junior for the younger kids. Most people that have the attention and focus, the ASD, they also have gut issues as well, because there is that huge correlation between the gut and the brain. Most of the people that I talked with also have gut issue, whether it's constipation or, they have to eliminate right after they eat, whatever it is, almost always, I want to say 90% of the time, there's a gut issue. So incorporating that PB Assist Junior and PB Assist capsule into the mix will help with the gut issues, which will in turn help with the brain issues. Zendocrine is another one that was pivotal in the work that we had done with our son, because it helps to cleanse your liver and organs. And when your liver is your filtering organ. So if you've got an overload of toxins in your body and you may have a filtering or methylation problem, you're having a hard time getting those toxins out. So everything just kind of builds up. Zendocrine helps to kind of push that stuff out and clean out your liver. This was really important. We do Zendocrine probably four times a year, so about quarterly. We're incorporating Zendocrine into his system, into his diet, and we'll do it for a month and a half, maybe 2 months as necessary. But there's also the liquid form of that as well, which you can put in roller balls for younger ones. And recently we have incorporated turmeric and yarrow palm, and these two have been rock stars. I mean, complete rock stars. We introduced this right after we found out that he was diagnosed with autism, and he was having a lot of aggression, a lot of anger, a lot of outbursts, right? He's a 14-year-old teenage boy right now, and, going through puberty. But when with autism, there's the social emotional component to it that was lacking. So he's got all these feelings, all this stuff, and he doesn't have the capabilities to know what to do with that. So we were getting a lot of anger, a lot of aggression, a lot of outbursts. And we introduced turmeric and yarrow palm. And this was probably, I want to say, right after convention, we started this. So like the 25th of September, 26th of September, something like that. We have been doing capsules 2 times a day, and I'll give you my mixture at the end. We have not seen any outbursts, any aggression. He's a lot more calm. His sleep has improved. I mean, he went from here to here. It's just been amazing, amazing. So if you're not incorporating these, definitely for the inflammation, definitely for the pomegranate seed oil, the yarrow is very calming as well. I can't even tell you what a change they've made in his life. So why would you want to use essential oils for brain health, right? So I love them because they support healthy brain function, right? We're working at a neurological level. Many of them are neuroprotective as well, like pink pepper for one, frankincense for another, neuroprotective. They penetrate the cellular membrane, which is very important. They're able to pass through that blood-brain barrier. So frankincense, for example, is one that we use freely and liberally in this house because it is passing through that blood-brain barrier, and it is able to work at a neurological level. And for someone with ADHD or ADD, their neurons are firing, but they're misfiring. They never all the way completely fire all the way through. So there's that short circuit almost. And so what we have found is that with frankincense, it's allowing that connection to build the connection with the neurons. It's repairing. So it's been really very interesting to watch that. Whereas like with the medications that he was taking, we're never looking at the root cause. It was always symptom management, right? So now we're working at the root cause. Reducing inflammation is what they can do. And a lot of times inflammation is the source of the problem. And then I love them because you can use the oils in many different application methods. So we know aromatically, topically, internally, but I also use them in his bath. I use them all different ways throughout his life and for other people as well, so that you can use them in every area of your life basically, so they fit with almost any lifestyle. And I love that they're so versatile. So essential oils for focus, right? So there's 2 parts to focus. The first part is calming the mind and body, right? So the hyperactive, the overactive ADHD behaviors, you've got the neurons firing and they're just misfiring. And then you've got all the hyperactivity that goes with it. So there's a calming component that needs to take place. So we'll use calming oils for that. And then there's energizing the brain, right? So if you have focus issues and you've got a very sluggish response and you can't pay attention, and it's not due to hyperactivity, it's just that there's such a lack of focus and cognition going on. So there's two parts. There's the calming part. I like to use Intune, Roman chamomile, vetiver, cedarwood, balance, frankincense, copaiba. These are just some of the staple ones that I use. And these are all ones that are really going to calm the mind, calm the body, calm the central nervous system, calm all those behaviors and neurons that are going like crazy, calm all of that so that they can focus. The other part of that is energizing the brain so that if you have this, like I said, sluggish response, you will be energized. So peppermint, bergamot, lime, rosemary, motivate. These are all really good ones as well. And sometimes depending on the person, I might marry the two of them in a rollerball. So I'll use some calming oils and I'll use some energizing oils. In fact, Intune is one of the blend that has a little bit of both, right? You've got the Roman chamomile and you do have frankincense and you've got ylang-ylang, but then you also have, I think lime is in there and I think bergamot is in there. So there are some, they kind of mix the two of them for a really nice benefit. So the other thing that we talked about was helping the people with attention and focus is sleeping and managing stress, right? So one of the building blocks we talked about was eating right. That's the foundation. Another one is sleeping and managing stress. If you are not sleeping, if you are not managing your stress, it is wreaking havoc on your body and your mind. Some of the same regions that regulate attention also regulate sleep. So a lot of times, remember we talked about all those little bubbles, looking at the whole person? A person who has attention and focus issues is also likely to have sleep issues as well. So make sure that you're asking people what other issues that they have. Sleep is essential for mental clarity and focus, right? If your mind and your body are not allowed to rest and rejuvenate, everything else will be out of whack. So for example, you've got to charge your phone every single day. If you don't charge your phone, what's it going to do? It's going to die because it's not going to work anymore. You have to recharge your mind and your body, and your mind and body recharges through sleep. So focusing on getting quality sleep is important. Sleep deprivation makes people irritable, impatient, and less effective at everything that they do. So if your kid or someone that, you know, you're not sleeping at night, and then you're going into work or to school the next day and you're expecting them to be functioning at peak performance, but they're not sleeping, again, you're expecting something out of their body that it's just not able to do. Some strategies that we use to help with sleep. So a routine is spectacular. Whether you're an adult or a child, a routine is your way of telling your body that it's time to start shutting down. So whether your routine looks like you read in bed, or you eat dinner at a certain time, or you take a bath every night, whatever the routine is, try to go to bed around the same time every night. Try to do some of the same routines every single day so that you can that give your body those cues that it's time to start resting and slowing down. Meditation is another great thing. I love guided meditation. It's good for kids and adults. For kids, they have so many apps out there right now for kids that you can play on their iPad. But guided meditation, so for a lot of us, me included, right, I go to bed at night and I lay there and I think about all the stuff that I didn't do today, that I got to do tomorrow, or that I got to get done next week. My mom brain goes crazy. And the kids, same thing, right? They're thinking about all the stuff at school or their friends or whatever. So with meditation, guided meditation, it is telling you literally what to think about. So the app will, you know, there's several apps out there, but, you know, some of the apps will say, you know, you can pick that you're on an ocean, next to the ocean. So it'll tell you, think about lying on the ocean, feel the sun on your skin, hear the waves in the background. It's literally telling you what to think about. So you're not thinking about the laundry and the doctor's appointments and everything else that you have to do. So if you haven't tried meditation, definitely check it out. There are lots of great apps out there. Diffusing essential oils. This is essential for anyone struggling with sleep, attention, stress, anything like that. Diffuse essential oils. I always recommend all of my clients are diffusing, because at night, right, you're getting the benefits of the oils while you're sleeping. You literally don't have to do anything but breathe. So diffuse those essential oils. Exercise is another great way, especially for kids that are hyperactive. They've got to be exercising. If they're not exercising, they're kids, number one. Number two, they have all this pent up energy, and we're expecting them to focus without allowing their body to get rid of that energy. It's got to go somewhere. So, whether it's walking the dog, or my kids do swimming. Swimming is a great sport. It gets them tired. It keeps them busy. They play water polo and they swim, and they are exhausted. But you've got to get that exercise into their system so that they get the energy out, so that they can relax and calm down. Limit TV and video time, especially before bed, because it can overstimulate the brain. This is for adults and kids as well. Essential oils for sleep and calming. So using them aromatically and topically. Some we use internally as well. Oils that we use for sleep are serenity, lavender, cedarwood, vetiver, Roman chamomile, patchouli, ylang-ylang, frankincense, cardamom, breathe, and arborvitae. These are all ones that we have in our normal little place by the bedrooms upstairs, and the kids will make their own now. So they go in, they make their own blends, and put their diffuser on. That's part of their routine. That's their nighttime routine. Making sure that they have the oils available, right? If you've got to run downstairs and dig through mom's oil bag to find oils, they're less likely to do that. So I save my oil bottles, my old empty oil bottles. So when I get a new bottle of Balance, I'll put half of it maybe in the bottle and put some in the upstairs bedroom, some in the upstairs bathroom. I'll send it in a bottle to my son to school with him if he needs it. If it's out of sight, it's out of mind. So if you can, keep the oils out and accessible to yourself and to your family, because then they're more likely to use them. Applying to the bottoms of the feet and down the spine before sleep is spectacular. And then we take the Serenity soft gels for additional sleep support. So applying topically, where to apply for the brain? So anything brain related, I like to put on the occipital points, which are the two round spots, like right at the base of your neck. And I do it in a triangle, and I just fill it in. So I put everything in roller balls because I like to make it super easy for people. So when I work with my customers, I'll make them a blend. I'll tell them what oils to get. They'll make the blend, or I'll make it for them or with them. And then they have it easily available. Nobody wants to open 15 bottles of oil, right? So making it easy for people to use is the key. So making a blend and just put it on the back of the points, roll it in, and make sure you're rubbing it in. Applying oils on the reflexology points for the brain, which is the center of the bottom of your big toes. That's the reflexology point for the brain. And then applying down the spine 2 times a day. So down the spine is great. It's all along your central nervous system there. And if we're putting oils to calm the central nervous system, it's readily available right there on the spine. If you can do that 2 times a day, you'll be good. So essential oils applied topically affect the brain. They increase circulation. They oxygenate the cells. They penetrate the tissue to aid in repair, right? And again, as I talked about, we're doing it right along the central nervous system there. So it is readily available to calm your central nervous system. One of the other things I think I'll talk about, but one of the other things I want to make sure I talk about is the aromatic application. Aromatic application is one of my favorite ways to use oils because it is readily available to the brain. So your nose is your strongest scent. So when you inhale the essential oils, right, it is all based on science. So if your nose is your strongest scent, whatever you breathe in, it has to process through your limbic system. Your amygdala has to trigger that response. Based on the chemistry of the oil that you smell, you will get that response. So lavender, for example, is calming, very high in linalool, very calming and relaxing. So if you're breathing that in, and you smell that, your amygdala is going to process a response that is calming and relaxing because the chemistry in that oil is calming and relaxing. However, if you did like a peppermint and wild orange, those are invigorating and energizing. So when you breathe those in, that's why you get that automatic response. It's your limbic system, your amygdala is saying, okay, based on the chemistry in this oil, this is energizing. So I love, love, love the aromatic application. So I just have them put it in the cup of their, or in the palm of their hand, and breathe it in. So when I make their roller balls, they're applying it on the back of the neck. But I also recommend, like if you're at school and you're stressing out, or if you're at work and you're stressing out, roll a little bit in your hand and inhale it. 3 deep breaths in and blow it out. Do that 3 times and you will instantly get that reaction that you're looking for, that calming reaction based on what is in those oils. So the aromatic application is one of my favorites. Okay, our custom blend and what we do for calming and focus, and also to support for the autism as well. So this is what we do in a 10 milliliter roller ball, applying 6 to 10 times a day. This is what we're doing right now. So when we first started, we were doing 6 to 10 times a day in an application. And because we were repairing, not putting a Band-Aid on it, we worked on repairing, he was able to go down to 1 to 2 times a day. So he would apply topically 1 or 2 times a day. Now we are in another heightened state, right, with this, with his autism diagnosis and with his, puberty time. We are applying more frequently again because we want to calm his whole system down. So this is a lot of drops, and I recognize that. This is what has worked for my son. I normally don't start this high with everybody. Less is more, so I start with less. I just wanted to show you guys what we use and how we've been using it. So in a 10 ml roller ball, we do 20 drops of Intune, 20 drops of Frank, 20 drops of Balance, 10 Serenity, 5 drops Roman Chamomile, 5 drops Melissa, 10 drops of Copaiba. And we top that up with fractionated coconut oil. We put that on the back of his neck, down his spine twice a day, bottoms of his feet. We also do in a veggie capsule 2 times a day, 3 drops of yarrow palm, 4 drops of turmeric, 2 drops of pink pepper, 2 drops of frankincense, and the 2 drops of Copaiba. And he takes that in a little veggie cap, and he takes that twice a day. He now makes his own. I just gave him a little recipe, and he makes them himself. And then in the diffuser at night, Balance, Serenity, cardamom or vetiver, breather, eucalyptus. So these are just some of the things we put in the diffuser. I normally try to mix it up diffuser-wise, just so that you're not getting the same stuff over and over again. But this is what we're doing right now with tremendous, tremendous results. As I said, we started the veggie capsules about 2 months ago and have seen massive reduction in aggression and anger and increase in attention and other positive behaviors. So we've been really happy with the results of that. We talked aromatically, right, why we want to do this. So diffusing from the hands, diffusing in the air, increases oxygenation in the limbic system. We talked about that, stimulating a release of neurotransmitters. And then when you inhale that way, it influences the amygdala and the limbic system, which is all really very cool and instantaneous. Internally, so we use essential oils internally a lot with our health issues in our home. I typically don't recommend internal application for anyone younger than 10, but everyone has their own feelings about internal use, and I respect the wishes of people. So I don't really push anyone into doing internal application, even if they're an adult. That has to be a personal decision, and I allow them to make that decision. For us, it is something that we really enjoy. For us, it's something that my son has used a lot, and we're very thankful for that, but I don't push that on other people. When we do use oils internally, we mix them in a veggie capsule, or we use the soft gels. The soft gels are great. We use the Serenity soft gels, Copaiba soft gels, DDR Prime soft gels. So if they're available and if you want to use them that way, it's a great way to use them, especially on the go. One little quick tip of what I do for the capsules. If you're making the capsules internally, you can make them as you need them, or if there are any oils that don't have a carrier oil. So I can't do this with the yarrow pom because it does have pomegranate seed oil in it. But for most of the oils, like for the flumes, for example, the frankincense, lemon, on guard, oregano, melaleuca, I put them in the little wooden case that holds the veggie caps. I fill them up and I stick them in the freezer. And then you can grab them as you need them, but you can't do that with the ones with the carrier oil because the carrier oil could freeze. So like the yarrow pom, you can't do that because it will freeze. But for any other ones, especially the ones that have like some hotter oils in them, like the pink pepper, black pepper, oregano, you can't leave the veggie capsules sitting out because it'll eat right through the veggie cap. But if you freeze them, it will last a lot longer. Frequency and consistency, you have to do this frequently and consistently in order to get good results. I love it when people are like, oh, but I used it once and it didn't work. Well, no, of course, if you're like on a diet and you've got to lose 20 pounds and you eat healthy one day, you don't lose 20 pounds in one day, right? It's a process. So consistency is key. Change isn't going to occur if you're applying, once a day. It'd be a lot slower, but if you really want to see change, you have to make sure that you're doing the things to see that. So change happens small steps at a time with consistent work. Give your body time to adjust and listen to your body during the adjustment period. A lot of times you might go through some detoxification periods. You might have changes in your bowel movements. You might have changes in your sleep patterns or your mood. Listen to your body and adjust as necessary. If you're having trouble sleeping, add some sleep supportive oils. If you're having trouble with your gastrointestinal tract, add some oils to help support your gastrointestinal tract. It is a process. It is a fluid process. So you have to be adjusting and maneuvering with your body as your body is maneuvering and adjusting as well. So when I tell people, when I work with people, they have to make the commitment to do this if they want to see change. If you've got a child that's really suffering heavily with anger and outbursts and all this other stuff, if you want to see a change, you've got to do the work. If you do the work, I promise you will see change. How to talk to your customers about this, right? So listen to their symptoms. How does their lack of focus present? This is what I ask. If people come to me and they say, my kid has ADHD, he was just diagnosed. What do you recommend? I get this all the time. I need to understand, and you need to understand, how is that presenting for that specific person? Is it, do you have racing thoughts? Do you have hyperactivity? Do you not have enough energy? Are you forgetting things? Like, figure out exactly what that looks like and then dig a little deeper. Are there any other problems? Like, do they have sleep issues? Do they have gut issues? Do they have anger issues? It's like pieces of the puzzle. And once the more questions you ask, the more pieces that you get. And when you can finally put it all together, you can come up with a recommendation for this individual or their child or whatever that will look at the holistic person, at the whole person, not just that little diagnosis piece. Ask about the food that they're eating, right? You can give them all the oils in the world, but if they're eating McDonald's every single day, it's still going to be a problem, right? So ask about what they're eating. What are they putting in their body that could potentially be harming the output that they're seeing? If there are any pain and inflammation issues, if there's skin issues, right? So a lot of people that have skin issues also have these focus issues. This is all gut related. So ask them the questions. Look at the whole person, and based on their answers, then you could make a more holistic recommendation. That is pretty much it for my presentation. I love this saying up here, the greatest medicine of all is to teach people how not to need it. And that's kind of our job, right? We're teaching people how to use products from the earth, the gifts of the earth, to manage their health and wellness. And I am thankful every single day for that woman that introduced essential oils to me. She literally changed the life of our child and changed the life of my family. And so the more that we can educate and share, the more that we're able to help people get better and change their lives as well. All right, I will stop sharing, and then I can answer any questions that you might have. All right, let me I'm going to unmute myself. Okay. So unmuted everyone. I'm going to remute you all. And then if you have a question you want to ask, feel free to go ahead. All right, so important. Same here. There's a ton of amazing information. Can you provide first step, one thing at a time? So I am going to share this presentation with Stephanie, and I'm hoping that she'll share it on the Dream Team page. And this call was also recorded, so you can also go back and listen to the recording. If anybody has any specific information that they really need, feel free to PM me. My name is Tammy Hicks, and I'd be more than happy to help answer any questions that you have. Yep, lemon in your water. Somebody recommended that. That's good as well. We do the endocrine, and then we also do like lemon, wild orange, tangerine, lime. Another good way to help detoxify and keep your organs toxin free. Oh, yarrow plum is not frozen in your veggie caps. Nice. Okay. We had it the first time that we tried it, and it did freeze. If someone can only start with 2 to 3 things, what would be the best things to start with first? I would say you have to ask the questions. What are their top priorities? What are their biggest issues? Everybody has a different set of issues, right? My issues are going to be different than yours. So address their issues first. If their issues are, you know, sleep and gut, right, you're going to want to make the recommendation that. If it's, you know, the kid can't pay attention in school, you're going to want to focus on, you know, helping that child be able to pay attention. So identifying what the struggle is that they're fidgeting? Is it that they are sluggish, their brain is sluggish and they can't respond fast enough? You know, what specifically are they struggling with? How many drops do you recommend in the diffusers at night? It depends on the size of the diffuser. I would say, you know, like the Brevi, I'm in love with the Brevi diffuser. Anybody in love with those? They're awesome. I have like 6 of them. I'm almost embarrassed to say that, but I love them. But for those, I just do, you know, maybe 6 to 7 drops in that. And then I have another a bigger one that the water reservoir is massive, and I got to put like 20 drops in that. So I would say for a cup of water, probably like 6 to 7 drops should be good. The pedal diffuser. Yeah, I do about 6 to 7 drops. Exactly. All right, so any other questions, feel free to email me, info@tammyhicks.me. You can also check out my website as well, tammyhicks.me. Thank you everyone for allowing me to share this information with you tonight. If you have any questions, feel free to PM me. And like I said, I'll share this presentation with Stephanie and hopefully get posted on Dream Team, okay? Thank you so much, everyone. Have a good night.